Hello, this is my presentation on TryHackMe's OWASP Top 10 Room. This room covers the 10 most critical web vulnerabilities. I use many different resources to help me with this assignment. As far as AI, I use ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and even the resident AI on the TryHackMe website. Sometimes they were very helpful, other times they really didn't help that much, because sometimes ChatGPT, for instance, would give me too much information that I wasn't even able to understand. But I also use YouTube at different points when I got really stuck, and that was actually the most helpful thing. So let's look at the top 10. This is a screenshot of task 5, which involved code injection. I exploited this vulnerability by using payload colon or 1 equals 1, and this helped me bypass the authentication on a login form. The impact of this is data theft, and the main challenge was verifying the syntax across different database types. Next, we have a screenshot of task 7, which covered broken authentication. And this was all about weak user credentials and session management. In this task, I explored how applications fail to properly invalidate tokens or implement rate limiting. And this makes systems vulnerable to brute force attacks and session hijacking. Now, task 11 covers sensitive data exposure. This is when applications fail to properly protect sensitive data, obviously. And I demonstrated this by finding credentials in plain text. And the immediate of this is the impact of this is the immediate exposure of sensitive information that should have been encrypted. And here we have task 16. This was all about XML external entity, or XXE. In order to exploit this, I used a specially crafted XML file to trick the parser into disclosing system files. And this led to information disclosure. So task 18 is all about broken access control. And this is when a user accesses resources that they shouldn't be allowed to based on their permission level. And the way I exploited this was by changing the user ID in the URL, and this granted me access to another user's data. And the main impact of this is privilege escalation. Now, task 19 covers security misconfiguration, and this is all about simple oversights. All I had to do was exploit a server that had weak default credentials, and I was able to take over the entire system. So task 20 brings us to severity 7, which concerns cross-site scripting, or XSS. And I exploited this by using a malicious payload in the search field. After I did this, the script executed in the browser, which opened users up to session hijacking. Okay, welcome to slide 10 and task 26, which covers insecure deserialization. This happens when untrusted data is converted back into a program object. This was definitely the most complex challenge because it involved me using remote code execution, and that's how I found the flag. Severity 9 was pretty difficult too, and that was covered in task 29. This is all about components with known vulnerabilities. And this lesson shows us the importance of constantly patching and updating third-party libraries. Because if you use an outdated component, you inherit all its known security flaws. And this creates an easy entry point for attackers. And in order to complete this task, I use Vim to create a reverse shell and use that to find the root password. And finally, we have task 30. This tests our knowledge of insufficient logging and monitoring. This is basically a failure to detect or respond to an attack. And the impact of this is that an organization is blind during an active breach, and this makes incident response near impossible. In comparison to the others, this exercise was pretty easy, and I didn't even really need any help with this. And at long last, we have the completion screen for the THM room. Now, in addition to having AI help me with the exercises, I also used it to draft certain parts of the script, specifically the parts that dealt with the more technical aspects of this. So thank you very much for watching, and have a great week. Hello everybody, and welcome to my presentation of the simple CTF room on tryhackme.com, which I just completed. In this presentation, we're going to do a brief walkthrough of what I did and how I completed my first capture the flag. So without further ado, let's get hacking. So the first thing I did was ask Echo what to do. Then Echo told me to use Nmaps to scan the target for open ports, and so I did. I found a few open ports, as you can see here. After answering the first couple questions, I then started looking for the CVE that was being used, as that was the next question. I went to Google to find this, and that led me to ExploitDB, where I found the CVE. So the original name for this screenshot was When YouTube Got Involved. That's because I got pretty stuck at this point, and I actually found a YouTube walkthrough. So following the video, I used FTP to connect to the target, which I didn't actually know you could do. I then logged in as anonymous, and I used the ls command until I found the public directory. From there, I found the formitch.txt file. Now, the original name for this screenshot was YouTube Doesn't Always Work. That's because when I executed the Python file, which was supposed to crack the password, no text showed up on my screen. This took me a long time to figure out, but finally Google Gemini helped me correct an error in the bash code. I will admit, this was a difficult assignment, but it was also an amazing feeling when I finally got the SQL injection to work. This let me finally see the password, which was secret. So here's me finding the other user, as well as taking my first incorrect guess at the next question. Now here's Echo telling me how to find the final flag, and the answer to the previous question is Vim. And here's the completion screen. Like I said, this assignment was challenging, but with the help of ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, THM's Echo, and a little bit of YouTube, I was able to get it done. As far as this script, it's entirely in my own words. So thank you for watching, and have a great night.